Gosh, I really actually start with prenatal care or the birth process. And I feel like that is like so important because the same stresses that mom experiences during pregnancy, the baby experiences too. And then the process of labor, no matter which way baby is born, is a major event on their bodies and their nervous systems. Even in a textbook perfect, like no intervention labor, it's like, what is going on? We're in this, warm womb, and now we're in this crazy bright world. And sometimes that process will get their body in that fight or flight mode. And when our nervous system activates that fight or flight mode, we tend to grow into that and not grow out of that.
Welcome to Life Changing Money, a podcast all about one of the most taboo topics in the world, money. I'm your host, Barbara Schreihans, and we're going behind the scenes on business owners' journeys to money, success, and wealth. Let's get started. I am so excited to talk to Shea Kramer today. She's a chiropractor who's all about helping people, especially kids and moms, live their healthiest lives. After earning her doctorate in chiropractic and training under some amazing mentors, she is now rocking the Seattle area with multiple practices and really believes that investing in your wellness is key to boosting both your health and your wealth. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to dig into that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So when did you get your chiropractor degree?
I graduated in 2010. So what is that?
15 years now.
Almost 15 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you grow up wanting to be a chiro?
Yeah, I had an interesting experience. Growing up, my younger brother had a really amazing health experience from chiropractic care. He suffered from chronic ear infections as a child. And we were a very Western medicine style family. So it was a lot of antibiotics and Tylenol.
Yes.
And someone had mentioned to my parents to try chiropractic care for his ear infections before having surgery to get tubes in his ears. And once he started getting adjusted, his ear infections went away.
Yeah.
And he's 7 years younger than me. So I was old enough to be understanding of what was going on. And I just realized, oh my gosh, there's something to chiropractic care. And then that became a part of our lifestyle. And I just knew at that point, this is what I wanted to do because I loved that natural healing that chiropractic offered. And yeah, so at 11 years old, I was like, this is my path, and I knew it. And I really got into natural medicine in all avenues. I would visit Ayurvedic doctors when I was in high school or other chiropractors and just kind of exploring the alternative healthcare world.
Were your parents who is this girl trying all these things?
Yeah, they weren't as into it as I was, but they just let me explore that. And at the time, my mom's brother was actually in chiropractic school. So when he graduated, I was in middle school. And so I spent so much time in his office and just witnessed the miracles that were happening. And
you were his little intern.
I was his little intern, absolutely. I was free labor. Yeah. And then I did work for him for a while. And then pretty much right out of high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was taking that pathway to pursue chiropractic as a career.
Did you open your own practice right out of school?
Yeah. So my husband and I opened up our own practice in 2011.
Is he a chiro too?
He is a chiro too.
I swear every one of our chiro clients, they all are married to another chiro. They all meet in school.
If you walk into chiropractic school, you walk out single, you walk out married.
Yeah. Literally I know 50 couples, and they're all chiros.
It is. It's like a running joke. So we met in school and we opened a chiropractic office together, and we did that together for about 7 years. And then by a random events, my roommate and my best friend from chiropractic school, she was selling her office called Tree of Life Chiropractic, and it's a prenatal pediatric office, and that's kind of my niche. And we decided that we would take over her office, or we purchased her office in 2019. So that is where I have been since then. And it's just been a wonderful experience.
So I'm envisioning you two graduating chiro school, and I'm a numbers brain, and I'm your guys' student loans are really freaking high. And then there's two of you with really freaking high student loans, and then you open a business. Mm-hmm. So how were you making your student loan payments and have a new business? Were you just a rock star from the beginning? We
just knew we had to go for it. It was there's no plan B. There's no room for excuses. We had to figure it out and make it happen. And so we hustled so hard, especially in those beginning years. And as you probably know, they don't teach a lot of business in
No.
chiropractic school. They actually teach no business in chiropractic school.
Yeah.
And so it was, and this was before the era of, I feel like, social media and like access to like communicating the way that we do these days. So it was really hard work, but we succeeded, and it was really, really great.
Actually, so I have a mastermind group of business owners that want to scale to 7 figures, and 4 of the 16 of them are chiropractors, all for that reason, because they just don't teach it to you. Like, it wouldn't be that hard to add a class in college of like how to open your own practice. Mm-hmm. So what are like some tips and tricks you can give?
Yeah, I think that some tips and tricks I would give would be to really create a master business plan and to visit many chiropractic. There's so many different avenues and ways that you can practice chiropractic. Like, really get to know yourself and how you want to practice, and figure out what the numbers look like in that regard. Like, how many patients do you need to see a week in order to meet the overhead of a certain office? Or what do you need? Like, what does a care plan look like? Or do you want to do care plans? Like, you need to know KPIs, and those are things that they really do not go over in school at all. But from my experience, I feel like if I lead with those numbers, or I lead with those things in mind, like, it's kind of like along the line of like manifesting things. Like, it happens easier than if you're just kind of throwing things at the wall to seeing what sticks and taking that approach. And so I think that it's super important to go visit as many offices as possible, figure out what worked for them, and create a business plan and lay out KPIs that you want to pursue.
Do you think other chiros would be okay with others visiting? Like, if you just called them and be like, hey, can I visit
really
and peek around your business?
Yeah, I think that as a community, we're all pretty open to that, to like check it out. I mean, we've had so many people shadow in our office, and I think that's so important, because you need to know like what else is out there, and so you can really hone in on what it is that you like and what you want to build.
When you first started, how did you get people in the door?
Oh my gosh, we hustled. We worked pretty much every day of the week. We would be in the office. I joined a BNI group from the beginning, of course. We did in chiropractic, we do things called screening. So it's basically setting up a booth anywhere and everywhere that people would let us. So we'd be at farmers markets, we'd be at home and garden shows, we'd be at school fairs, we would be just like, if you would let us set up a table, we would absolutely show up. So we did a lot of that.
And would you adjust people there?
No, we would just take information about the office, or we would take some technology that we have that we could do like a mini exam almost on patients or on people, just to show them like what we do more of in the office. And that gave them a great visual, because it'd be on the computer. Like, we'd scan their spine in some format, and it would show up on the computer that they could see that there's stress patterns going on in their body, and help relate that to what's going on in their health. And that would be one way that would really help connect with people. And just tons of meetings with people, of course. Yeah.
I think business owners nowadays have gotten away from that kind of marketing, but it's so important. Like, that's what I started with too, is like the BNI groups, every networking group, every chamber of commerce, every
chamber of commerce.
Yeah. And now everyone is so on social media, but I think like the community aspect is so important.
Yes,
for sure. Well, it couldn't have been like all sunshine when you started. So like, what was your like terrible moment of business ownership?
My gosh, I feel like there were so many of them in the beginning. I think that like the amount of time and energy that we were putting into it, like we didn't have any backup or support. It was just the two of us like figuring it out, and we like got broken into really early in business, and we had like a pipe issue that the whole office had to get pretty much redone, and like those things you don't even know to expect. You can't expect, and those really kind of derailed us for a little while. But at the same time, it's just like you gotta keep going.
My husband and I also work together.
I love that.
And so everyone always asks us like, how is it working? Like, I also want my husband or wife to work with me, but that just seems so hard. And I will say it is hard.
Yeah.
But what's like your piece of advice for working with a spouse?
Just clear communication is so important. It's like being vulnerable and creating lanes, I feel like, is important in business ownership. Is like, this is where you thrive, this is where I thrive, and let's like let's capitalize on that. And I think that's really important in being in business with your spouse.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you work in like pediatric chiro.
Yeah.
What are some like transformations that you see, or like for our listeners, like there are a lot of mamas and maybe there's like something going on with their kid that they don't even know like chiro could help.
Totally.
Like earaches. That actually really helped my kids growing up too. I was the kid that always had earaches and I wish I knew because I was like the antibiotic kid for sure. But now every time they're sick or have an earache, I take them to the chiropractor.
I love
and
that.
It clears it right away.
It's amazing, huh?
So what else?
Yeah, so many
people
things.
don't know about.
Gosh, I really actually start with prenatal care or the birth process. And I feel like that is like so important because the same stresses that mom experiences during pregnancy, the baby experiences too. And then the process of labor, no matter which way baby is born, is a major event on their bodies and their nervous systems.
How
and
traumatizing.
So traumatizing.
These little babies.
I know. Even in a textbook,
they're like, what's happening?
Like, no intervention labor. It's like, what is going on? We're in this, warm womb, and now we're in this crazy bright world. And sometimes that process will get their body in that fight or flight mode. And when our nervous system activates that fight or flight mode, we tend to grow into that and not grow out of that. And that's so important during childhood because in the first year, our bodies and brains more than double in size. And the nervous system is it's learning their strategies on how to handle stressors. And so if we're born into that fight or flight mode, and then we're going through all these developmental milestones, then it's going to make colic worse. It's going to make their sleep quality not great. It's going to affect their digestion. And so those are some of the initial things that we tell parents, like if you see your child, if you're breastfeeding and they're only latching on one side, or maybe their latch is poor to begin with, or they're turning to one side and not the other, or they're arching quite a bit, like those are all signs that their bodies and their nervous systems are harboring stress that we can help with through chiropractic care. And the adjustments are so gentle for infants that
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a latch problem.
So common.
With my youngest, and luckily I was a birth fit coach. I don't know if you've ever heard of birth fit, but I was a birth fit coach. So my mentor was a chiropractor, Dr. Muma, and she put her fingers in his mouth and just adjusted it in one session. And I was like, oh my God, I've been bleeding for weeks.
Yeah. I know my associate, Dr. Mariah, she just messaged me today. She went to do a home visit for a baby who wasn't latching. And after the adjustment, they latched it perfectly. And it's it's so amazing. It's so special and so important. Those connections are so important between mom and baby, and it affects the entire family. And I just find that chiropractic care can facilitate that so well.
So at what point in business were you like, we have to hire people, and how do you decide when and how to hire? So
at my office at Tree of Life, I just reached a point where I was very busy and I want to continue to grow. I see such a need for what we do in the community. And it was either I can continue to expand my hours and expand myself, or I can help grow other people as well. And that's what I feel like we really need to do, is continue to grow other people to be able to provide the services that we can for this community. And so that was really where I started to make the decision that I needed to hire an associate and grow our team.
What were key investments that you made into your business that you were like, this is amazing?
So I got involved with something called the Pediatric Experience, and that's been really impactful for us as a business. It is a kind of like a mastermind of chiropractors who really focus on complex cases in the pediatric world. And so that's been really helpful for our business as a whole, is just getting really detailed about how to care for these complicated cases and how to be that resource for people. And then personally, just the more I expand my team, the more I have to, or the more I need to invest in myself too, through different, therapies and things like that.
I always think chiropractors have the best self-care and alternative medicine, let's say, tips and tricks. So do you have anything that works really well for you?
So my favorite things right now, I get adjusted at least once a week, usually twice a week. And I think that's
by your husband.
So I actually see an outside doc at least once a week, and then I'll see someone internal, whether it's my husband or my associate, the second time that I get adjusted during the week. So multiple people. And I also utilize something called Emotion Code. Have you heard of that?
It's a book.
It is a book.
I've read the book.
You read the book, yeah. So I have an Emotion Code practitioner that I see probably once a month. And that's been super helpful for me. Just working on like stressors that are present in my life and helping improve those.
Well, plus you work so closely with people all day. I feel like if it was me, I would like absorb all of that and I'd be like, how do I get it out of here?
Yeah, totally. And for me, like working out is very important in that regard. Going on long walks, I like to do that too. And, you know, some biohacking things too. I really like the red light therapy and saunas and
me too. We had someone else on the podcast today and we were talking about, she has red light therapy. She owns like weight loss clinics.
Oh, cool.
And so she has red light therapies in there. But yeah, I have like a whole red light wall at my house.
Oh.
And sauna.
That's amazing.
And cold plunge.
Cold plunge. Love that.
I was going to ask you, like, do you think cold plunges are good?
Oh, yeah, I do. I think that they're more beneficial consistently for men. And then for women, we need to be mindful of hormones and our cycles. And I think that the cold plunge can be a little bit maybe too intense for our system sometimes. But I love the sauna cold plunge circuit for sure.
Do you have favorite brands that people can look into?
I like the sunlight saunas. That's my favorite sauna that I like. The cold plunge, I don't really have a favorite. You can get in a bathtub with ice.
With ice.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Okay, so for a lot of the listeners, they're probably online entrepreneurs that sit on their butt on their computer all day. I'm guilty as well. So what are some like healthy back tips?
That's a great question. I like to recommend keeping the computer eye level or above. That's very important. I also like to recommend that your chair has your hips slightly higher than your knees.
Okay.
Yeah. As we're like sitting with our legs crossed.
I know,
Let's stop that.
Yeah, wait, don't judge me.
I'm guilty too. Great posture. And then I also like to recommend getting an exercise ball, like the big exercise balls, and sitting on those for like 10 minutes out of the hour, just to engage your core more. And it will stop you from rolling your lumbar spine out, which causes low back pain and SI joint problems.
That's me. What about walking desks? Do you think those are good?
Yeah, I actually just got one for myself for home. So I love them.
Yeah, I use it as well. I need to use it more.
Yeah. I feel like walking is so underrated as a benefit to your health and well-being.
I was a competitive weightlifter for a long time until my back just like
said no.
Yeah, really hated
You're
it.
done.
Like I just kept getting injured.
Yeah.
And so I finally was like, okay, I guess I have to stop with the barbell. And then I turned to Pilates and yoga, which I always like made fun of people. I don't know why. I'm like, that's not really working.
Those 2-pound weights don't do anything.
Yeah. And like my back and core has never been stronger. So do you have like a recommended exercise that helps people's backs get healthy?
You know, I really do like weightlifting for everyone, but especially women, just because we lose bone density and it's very important for our overall health. But I feel like we have to balance it out with other workouts. We need the yin to the yang.
Yeah, my 300-pound squat wasn't very healthy.
It's fun to like, hit those PRs, but it's so easy to get in the realm of getting addicted to that. And we're like, want to lift so heavy, and building strength is so important, but not at the sake of our health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your next big business goal?
Oh, man. So my next big business goal is to just actually continue to expand, is hiring 1 or 2 more doctors on our team. And I would like to take a slight step back from being in the offices and work more on the businesses so that we can copy paste what we've been doing, because there's so much need for pediatric and prenatal chiropractic.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone's in the Seattle area listening, where can they find you?
We are at Tree of Life Chiropractic. We have a location in Wallingford, and we opened a location in Kirkland recently, so we're excited about that. And then we also have a third office called Beyond Well Chiropractic, and that's in Green Lake.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Life Changing Money. Don't forget to subscribe, and I would love if you left a review and shared it with your friends. See you next time.